She walked into Judge Judy's courtroom with a smile on her face and one shocking claim. "My father is an ambassador, so you can't touch me." But just minutes later, after Judge Judy uncovered the truth, that confidence completely disappeared. What started as a simple car accident turned into a courtroom lesson about privilege, power, and accountability that nobody saw coming. Stay until the end, because Judge Judy's final response left the entire courtroom applauding.
The courtroom fell completely silent. A young woman dressed in expensive designer clothes stood confidently in front of Judge Judy. Her arms were crossed, and a smug smile sat on her face. Every movement she made seemed to send the same message to everyone in the room. She wasn't worried about the outcome of this case. She wasn't nervous. She wasn't anxious. And she certainly wasn't acting like someone who might lose a lawsuit. Instead, she looked as though the entire courtroom was wasting her valuable time. The spectators sitting in the gallery noticed it immediately. Some exchanged curious glances while others quietly whispered among themselves. They had seen many defendants walk into Judge Judy's courtroom before, but this young woman carried herself differently. She seemed untouchable. What happened next would leave everyone speechless. The young woman's name was Sophia Loren, a 22-year-old university student, and the daughter of a foreign ambassador stationed in the United States. Growing up in luxury, Sophia had always been surrounded by influence, privilege, and powerful people. Expensive vacations, private schools, luxury vehicles, and VIP treatment had been a normal part of her life. Many people believe Sophia had never truly been told no. And according to the man suing her, that attitude had finally caught up with her. Just 3 weeks earlier, Sophia had been driving her bright red luxury sports car through a busy downtown intersection during the afternoon rush hour. At the same moment, a local bakery owner named Robert Harris was making deliveries to several businesses using his company van. For Robert, it was supposed to be an ordinary workday. Instead, it became one of the worst days of his life. According to police reports, witness statements, and security footage, Sophia entered the intersection after the traffic light had already turned red. Moments later, her sports car slammed directly into Robert's delivery van. The impact was so powerful that the van spun sideways before crashing into a nearby curb. Fortunately, nobody was seriously injured, but the damage was severe. Robert's van was badly damaged and had to be taken out of service for repairs. Without the vehicle, he struggled to deliver orders to customers. Several catering jobs had to be canceled, and some longtime clients chose other bakeries instead. Within days, Robert realized the accident had cost him thousands of dollars. Not only did he face expensive repair bills, but he was also losing business income every single day. His van remained unusable. When attempts to settle the matter privately failed, Robert decided to take the case to court. He gathered everything he needed: photographs from the accident scene, repair estimates, business records showing lost revenue, witness statements from people who had seen the crash, and perhaps most importantly, security camera footage from a nearby building. The video appeared crystal clear. It showed Sophia approaching the intersection at a high speed. It showed the traffic signal turning red. And it showed her vehicle continuing forward before colliding with Robert's van. To most people, the evidence seemed overwhelming. The case looked straightforward. Yet when Sophia entered Judge Judy's courtroom, she acted as though none of it mattered. As the hearing began, Judge Judy reviewed the paperwork in front of her. The famous judge had handled thousands of disputes throughout her career. She had developed a reputation for quickly spotting dishonesty, excuses, and attempts to avoid responsibility. At first, she simply wanted to hear both sides of the story. But before she could even finish her first question, Sophia interrupted. "Your Honor," she said confidently, "this case shouldn't even be here." Immediately, the courtroom became quiet. Judge Judy slowly looked up from her documents. Her expression remained calm. "And why is that?" she asked. Sophia smiled. It was the smile of someone who believed she held a winning card. "Because my father is an ambassador," she said. "I have diplomatic immunity." The audience exchanged confused looks. A few people frowned. Others appeared shocked by the statement. Sophia seemed pleased with the reaction. She continued speaking as if the matter had already been decided. "You don't have authority over me," she said confidently. "This lawsuit should be dismissed." Several spectators shook their heads. Robert Harris looked frustrated. For weeks, he had spent countless hours collecting evidence, organizing documents, and preparing for his day in court. Now it appeared that Sophia believed she could simply avoid accountability because of her family connections. The bakery owner tightened his grip on the folder sitting in front of him. Judge Judy, however, remained completely calm. She leaned back slightly in her chair and stared at Sophia for several long seconds. The silence felt almost uncomfortable. Nobody in the room spoke. Nobody moved. Everyone was waiting to see how Judge Judy would respond. Then something unexpected happened. Judge Judy smiled. But it wasn't the kind of smile Sophia expected. It wasn't a smile of agreement. It wasn't a smile of surrender. It was the smile Judge Judy gives when she knows someone is about to learn a very important lesson. A lesson about responsibility. A lesson about accountability. and a lesson that no amount of privilege could protect her from. And that lesson was coming very, very fast. Judge Judy folded her hands and looked directly at Sophia. The young woman still appeared confident, but the certainty she had walked into the courtroom with was beginning to crack. Miss Laurent, Judge Judy said calmly, "Who told you that you have diplomatic immunity?" Sophia let out a small laugh, as if the answer were obvious. "My father did." Judge Judy nodded. "Is your father the ambassador?" "Yes." "And are you the ambassador?" The courtroom suddenly became quiet. Sophia hesitated. For the first time all day, she seemed unsure of herself. Finally, she answered, "No." Judge Judy continued, "Do you work for the embassy?" "No." "Do you have official diplomatic status?" Sophia frowned. Clearly, she hadn't expected these questions. "I don't need it," she replied. "I'm the ambassador's daughter." Several people in the audience exchanged looks. Judge Judy leaned slightly forward. "No, young lady," she said firmly. "That's not how the law works." The confidence on Sophia's face began to disappear. For weeks, she had believed her father's position would protect her from any consequences. She had entered the courtroom expecting the case to be dismissed within minutes. Instead, things were moving in a direction she never anticipated. Judge Judy patiently explained that diplomatic immunity wasn't some magical shield that protected anyone connected to an ambassador. There were specific laws, specific qualifications, specific documents, and not everyone automatically received those protections. The judge then asked a simple question. "Do you have any official paperwork proving you are protected by diplomatic immunity?" Sophia blinked. She looked at her attorney, then back at Judge Judy. "No." Judge Judy wasn't surprised. She turned her attention to the court records sitting in front of her. The documents clearly showed that Sophia was enrolled as a student at a university in the United States. There was no evidence that she held any diplomatic position or official status. According to the records, she was not representing any foreign government. She was not employed by an embassy. She was not listed as a diplomat. In the eyes of the law, she was simply another person standing before the court. Nothing more. Nothing less. Sophia looked genuinely shocked. Her entire defense was falling apart right in front of her. "But my father said." Judge Judy immediately cut her off. "I don't care what your father said." The judge paused. "I care about facts." The courtroom erupted with laughter. Even some members of the court staff couldn't hide their smiles. Robert Harris lowered his head for a moment, trying not to laugh himself. For the first time since the hearing began, it felt like justice was finally moving in the right direction. Sophia sat silently. The reality of the situation was beginning to sink in. Judge Judy then moved on to the most important piece of evidence: the security footage. A large monitor displayed the video for everyone in the courtroom to see. The room became silent once again. The footage showed traffic moving normally through the intersection. Then Sophia's sports car appeared. As the video continued, something immediately caught everyone's attention. Sophia wasn't watching the road. She was looking down at her phone. The footage clearly showed her attention drifting away from traffic. Then the traffic light turned red. Several vehicles stopped. But Sophia didn't. Her sports car continued forward. Just seconds later, it crashed directly into Robert's bakery van. The impact shook the screen. The video ended. Nobody needed an explanation. The evidence spoke for itself. Judge Judy looked toward Sophia. "Do you see that video?" "Yes." "Is that your car?" "Yes." "Were you looking at your phone?" Sophia stared at the floor. A long silence followed. Then she answered quietly, "Maybe." Judge Judy raised an eyebrow. "Maybe?" The audience burst into laughter again. Even Sophia's attorney looked uncomfortable. Judge Judy wasn't amused. "This is a courtroom," she said firmly. "Not a guessing game." Sophia swallowed hard. The confident young woman who had entered the courtroom claiming immunity was now struggling to answer basic questions. Finally, she sighed. "Yes." The room became quiet. There it was. The truth. A simple admission that changed everything. She had been distracted. She had ignored the traffic signal. And she had caused the accident. At that moment, everyone in the courtroom knew exactly how the case was going to end. But Judge Judy wasn't finished. Not even close. Because beyond the accident, there was a much bigger lesson that needed to be taught. A lesson about responsibility. A lesson about privilege. And a lesson that would leave the entire courtroom applauding.
Judge Judy looked directly at Sophia. The entire courtroom seemed to freeze. Even the spectators sitting in the back rows leaned forward, waiting to hear what she would say next. Her voice was calm, controlled, but every word carried weight. Being the daughter of an ambassador does not place you above the law. The room fell silent. Not a single person spoke. Not a single chair moved. For the first time since entering the courtroom, Sophia couldn't hide the uncertainty on her face. Judge Judy continued. "One of the biggest problems in society is when people believe that status, wealth, or family connections excuse bad behavior. The words hit Sophia harder than any financial penalty ever could. Just hours earlier, she had walked into court believing her father's title would shield her from responsibility. Now that belief was collapsing right in front of everyone. Judge Judy pointed toward Robert Harris. The bakery owner sat quietly at his table. He wasn't wealthy. He wasn't powerful. He was simply a hard-working businessman trying to support his employees and provide for his family. That man worked hard to build his business, Judge Judy said. He wakes up early. He serves his customers. He earns his living honestly. She paused for a moment. And because of your careless actions, he suffered losses he didn't deserve. Robert lowered his head slightly. The stress of the past few weeks had been obvious. His damaged van had interrupted deliveries. Customers had canceled orders. Income had dropped. And throughout it all, he had simply wanted fairness. Nothing more. Nothing less. Judge Judy turned back to the paperwork in front of her. The courtroom waited. Everyone knew the ruling was coming. The question was how severe it would be. After reviewing the evidence one final time, Judge Judy delivered her decision. The defendant is responsible for the accident. Sophia's face immediately tightened. Judge Judy continued. I am ordering the defendant to pay the full cost of repairing Mr. Harris's delivery van. Sophia swallowed hard. But Judge Judy wasn't finished. In addition, the defendant will compensate Mr. Harris for the business income he lost while his vehicle was out of service. A wave of whispers moved through the audience. The total damages had been carefully documented. Every repair invoice, every canceled delivery, every lost business opportunity. Judge Judy added the final amount. The total judgment is $18,000. Sophia's eyes widened instantly. The confident smile she had worn all day disappeared completely. $18,000. The reality finally hit her. This wasn't a situation she could escape with excuses. This wasn't something her family name could erase. The consequences were real. And they were now legally enforceable. For a moment nobody spoke. Then Judge Judy leaned forward one final time. The courtroom sensed that she had something important left to say. Something bigger than money. Something bigger than the accident itself. She looked directly at Sophia. Privilege is not a free pass. The room remained silent. Responsibility comes with every choice you make. Sophia slowly looked up. Judge Judy continued. You can come from a wealthy family. You can know important people. You can have opportunities others don't. But none of those things remove personal responsibility. Every person in the courtroom seemed to absorb the message. It wasn't just directed at Sophia anymore. It was a lesson for everyone listening. Actions have consequences. No exceptions. No shortcuts. No special treatment. The audience erupted into applause. Even members of the court staff couldn't hide their smiles. The case had become about much more than a traffic accident. It had become a reminder that fairness only works when the same rules apply to everyone. Sophia sat quietly. There was no argument left to make. No excuse left to give. Slowly she nodded. For the first time during the entire hearing, she seemed to truly understand. This was never about diplomatic immunity. It was never about her father's position. It wasn't about influence, privilege, or power. It was about accountability. And accountability doesn't disappear because of a title. As the hearing came to an end, people began gathering their belongings and leaving the courtroom. The atmosphere felt different now. Lighter. Satisfied. Robert Harris approached the exit with a sense of relief. After weeks of stress and uncertainty, he had finally received justice. Before leaving, he turned toward Judge Judy and quietly thanked her. She simply nodded. To her, the ruling had been straightforward. The law had spoken. The evidence had spoken. And fairness had prevailed. Meanwhile, Sophia walked out of the courtroom carrying something far more valuable than a legal judgment. She carried a lesson. A lesson she would likely remember for the rest of her life. A lesson that applies to every person, regardless of wealth, status, or background. No title places someone above the law. No amount of money erases responsibility. And no family connection can excuse careless actions. That powerful lesson is exactly why Judge Judy's response shocked Sophia, and why everyone who witnessed that day in the courtroom remembered it for years to come.